Brian is one of those people who never seems to stop moving. He's the owner of Bean Fiend Cafe and organizer of the annual Algoma Busker Festival, the former president of the Bay Algoma Business Association, and earlier this year, he was elected to Thunder Bay City Council on the McKellar Ward. Brian, welcome to the show.
Right on, Dennis. That's a great intro. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you. I'm going to ask you a little bit of questions about your background. How did you get involved in the food and culture scene in Thunder Bay?
Accidentally.
Accidentally?
Yes, absolutely. Before I had my restaurant, I used to travel around the world and find unique arts and crafts, jewelry. So my business was actually import-export business. In that time, I collected lots of funky art, lots of teak furniture, masks, home decor, and so one day I just set it all up in a building that I had next door to my business, and I was with my friend Lenzo, and we were like, damn, that looks like a pretty, looks like it could be a cool little coffee shop. So I called up my favorite coffee roaster, Nelson, BC, and I'm like, send me some coffee, and you know, the rest is history. So now we're 8 years deep in that.
Wow.
The Red Earth Imports, my first business, is now closed for 10 years, and here I go. Now I'm an accidental restaurateur.
Accidental restaurateur. Was that just all by chance? Was there any like struggles or like going from like just starting a restaurant to not, or?
Well, with my initial import company, it was like I had friends working there.
Yeah.
I worked there. It was like a one-person business.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden I had to like hire new people I didn't know. And so there was a big learning curve as far as for management and being a boss, and kind of like reaching that level of professionalism that you really could just, that, you know, I didn't really have with the import-export business. It was kind of like more fun.
Yeah.
It was friends. We all kind of partied together. We all knew each other. Now, when the restaurant business, I had to hire people, and it was like a level of professionalism that it took me a bit to get my legs on and underneath me. And now I do, and it's been running great for about 6 years. But yeah, we definitely took our bruises and lumps and bumps in those first couple of years.
That's fair. I know you're organizing the annual like Algoma Busker Festival.
Yeah.
So how is that like? Because you're a busy man. You're a city councilman. You own a restaurant. You do all this other stuff. Is that just on top of like? How's your time management with all this stuff going on?
Poor.
Yeah,
it is. And let me tell you, like, you know, now with city council, this is all brand new. So I got about the last month has been extremely thick scheduled.
Yeah.
You know, I've never, my calendar, I don't even need alarms on it because I just have to look at it all the time to kind of constantly go through everything. But before, with the Buskers Festival, the success, anytime we were successful at the restaurant, I was able to have free time.
Yeah.
And with that free time, I used to just clean up the neighborhood, sweep the streets, you know, shovel snow, visit the neighbors, kind of take the pulse of the neighborhood.
Yeah.
And then the position of the president came up on the board of directors, and I was like, you know what? Like, why shouldn't the neighborhood custodian and the janitor and the person who's on the street with the calluses on their hands be the president? Like, isn't that what we need? Is like the people that can lead from the behind? And I felt like I was a behind guy working all the circuitry, and then boom. So. I applied kind of for the job, was kind of voted in, and then my first task, of course, was to make the neighborhood better. Simple as that. And we had our annual event that we did every year. It was like our annual sidewalk sale. And I just kind of like put my own take on it, and it became the Buskers Festival.
That's fair. That's really cool, actually. Mm-hmm. I also heard recently that you're on the Board of Health for the Thunder Bay District Health Unit.
I actually just divested myself from that post because
you did?
It is, because it's quite a big post.
Yeah.
And I want to be a good committee member and a good board member.
That's
and
smart.
I don't think
adding more on top of your schedule.
Well, and hey, I'm down for hard work.
Yeah.
But there's another post there at the Thunder Bay District the DSAB, it's called, the District Social Services Board, and that's where I'm going to be putting most of my time into, as well as the Thunder Bay Emergency Shelter as well. So
okay, here's a general question. Like in Thunder Bay, we have all these new restaurants opening up. Do you think there's something we're missing as like a culture, like food or something that just no one has thought of yet, or no?
Yeah, there's a lot of room to explore,
Yeah.
But it's tough out there. People are opening businesses, but are they succeeding? So those are two completely different things.
Yeah.
If you go to almost every single business, the owners are working in them. You know, you go to Food Baby down on Bay Street. A prime example is Upshot Coffee House, very, very popular place down on May Street.
Yeah.
But their biggest and their best asset is that the two owners work there.
Yeah.
And as a customer, you know, I'm a regular there, and it's awesome. awesome. You go in there, you talk directly with the owners, and I think for me as a customer, I love that, right?
Yeah.
And I know people certainly like when I'm in my business. So that's kind of the challenge right now. I have a hands-on off approach to my restaurant, and it's I mean, I don't really get any dividends really from it, but it's sustaining, and it's solvent kinda in the meantime. So yeah,
That's fair.
Yeah.
And like in general, like I know like the market of just food in general is getting more and more. Do you think like there should be more events like on the community side, like competition-based food, or?
Well, for sure, and all that stuff is just like logistical kind of planning.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of room. Right now, we launched our community coffee card. So
Yes,
this
I heard
community
about that.
coffee card, yeah, it's so you've heard of it.
Yes.
It's 11 coffee shops this year. It's usually 10, and everybody kind of gives 2 free coffees to these cards. We print 1,000 of them, and we charge $10 for the card. So you get 2 free coffee at basically every independent coffee house in town. And for $10, all the money goes to raise awareness for mental health locally, and we think it's a great deal, and it's a great way to show some solidarity with the industry and get people out of the kind of the big box coffee shops and into their local suppliers.
Yeah. Well, I think one of the biggest things, like most people just go to Tim's. It's convenient. It's there, but they miss in general like the coffee shops of just like the home brew and everything, which is really something I feel like we are lacking a bit, because most of the roads, the main streets, just full of like Tim's, McDonald's, everything. I feel like the people just don't reach out as much as they should.
Absolutely. You know what? The convenience argument for going into one of those lineups is a myth, because, I mean, I've had no lineups at my place, or like maybe one customer, and then like it's a 15-car pileup at the Tim's. So I don't know who has the time to go and waste in a drive-through, but if you don't have the time to go wait in a drive-through and you're busy and you want a good fair trade organic coffee, maybe kind of visit one of your local coffee shops, because you're going to get a faster service, you know. Not to say it's, hey, Tim Hortons and all those, they're very happy, friendly people. You get a lot of good people working there as well. But if you give the local shops a chance, I think.
I feel like that's one thing that, like, I don't know if people in general just not as informative, because even some of the restaurants you named prior, I've never heard of them. Like some of those coffee shops, I know of them, I just don't know where they're located, or like I've heard the name before.
Well, that's the thing, is like we kind of are creatures of habit, and it's hard to break those habits. And that's another reason why we did the coffee card, was we give people a deal they cannot refuse. It's like you're getting 22 coffees for $10, and all the money goes to Canadian mental health. So we're trying to break that habit, but it's a hard nut to crack. You know, people, even me included. Well, I mean, I'm a bit of an anomaly. I go to all the coffee shops.
Yeah, that's fair.
Because I think we all kind of worship the same God, but the coffee gods. But I think it's a tough nut to crack. So people should try spread their wings sometimes.
Do you think there's anything that's like lacking promotion wise for these like local businesses, or is there anything that we as like the general public could do to help support our local food?
Well, that's a great question. I think a lot of these places, just walking through the door one time is enough to get people into the habit. But, also walking in and not having that experience that is going to draw them back might just draw them further into their habit at one of their other places too. So it's important for us as restaurants to, rather than wasting too much money on promotion, to make sure that every one of those people, if they get out of their lane to kind of try us, we have to make sure that they have an excellent experience. So, I mean, one of the things that we do at my business is, rather than advertising or trying to promote too much, we really try to ensure that we're watching out for the needs of everybody that walks through the door, because it's hard to kind of get new customers in, but it's easy to watch them slip through your fingers. So we just try to make sure everybody has a good story and a good experience, and that's kind of where we put our efforts.
And just one of those questions that I personally want to ask: what's the funniest thing that's ever happened at a restaurant, that accident or something that's just like something that happened that is just was funny to you?
Funny, I don't know. We had an open mic there last night, and it was just, I haven't played music myself in so long. I mean, that was great. Funny. We've had some, what's funny?
I mean, like for me, example, I used to work at a restaurant when my dad lives in Terrace Bay, and the most funniest thing happened, some big thing, stack of plates, fell, glass everywhere. Everyone was just laughing, even though no one was hurt, no one was hurt or anything, but it was just hilarious just watching someone just fall. and just everyone was just laughing. It was great to me. Yeah.
Well, that would be fun. That would be funny. And then, of course, I'm the boss, so I'd be like, "Hey, what's up with those plates? That's like $100."
Yeah.
I'm not sure, but you know what? At any coffee shop, not just mine, always lots of kind of fun stuff happening. For me, I'm a political junkie. I like culture. I like animated conversations. So for me, the coffee shop's where it's at as far as all that goes.
I could see that, but just in general, I also will say like coffee shops in general, it's a nice place just to like random people just come up and talk to you in general.
Oh, for sure, and make
great.
friends. You know,
Yeah.
there's people at my place. They met at the restaurant, and now they're friends. I mean, we got one customer, Tim. You know, he's great. He comes in all the time. He actually lost some kids in a tragic accident, and he loves. So he comes in, and he's got a couple of our staff. He brought them down to the sailboat. They help him paint his boat.
Whoa.
They go sailing.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, like I'm watching like these friendships blossom, and it's
a cool
you
thing
know,
to see.
as far as culture goes, it's kind of where the rubber meets the road. Your local coffee shops. That's why I like the business. It was nothing I ever got into for money. It was always. I always just wanted to be part of like a solution and building a stronger community, and the coffee shop helps me do that. So.
That's actually really cool. Yeah, because I remember, I think it's Java Hut. It's the one that went to one of the times. Mm-hmm. It's just behind the military.
Yeah,
I walked in there. Friendliest people I've ever met in my life. Even like...
Oh, best pies. Java Hut.
Oh,
yeah.
so
I know.
good.
Hey, come on.
I know, right?
And good food, good value. Like,
Yeah.
you know, yeah, very good.
Well, I walked in there and there's just like this LD gentleman beside me just started talking to me about sports. I'm like, this is so cool.
Yeah.
I would never get this at McDonald's. People just on the phone.
Totally.
It was so
Yeah,
cool.
Yeah, absolutely.
It was insane. Just like the friendliness of any local business. It was just really cool to see, just to experience it.
You know, and that's the thing about experience is if given the chance to experiencing, you know, for example, you go out, you see a rainbow. Mm-hmm. The human, it's not. I think it's not even my inclination, but is to grab somebody to share it with. Mm-hmm. And every time, you know, what brings people together is great experiences.
Yep.
So if you come into my restaurant, for example, it looks pretty cool. Like it's awesome. So people are looking around. Everybody's kind of experiencing that same kind of vibe, and it brings people a little closer together. So anytime you have people experiencing something collectively, it's a game changer as far as community goes, and it really strengthens relationships.
Well, thank you for joining me, Brian. We'll be back with Culture Talk Culture Time in a minute.
Right on, Dennis.
Welcome back to Culture Crunch. I'm your host, Dennis, and I'd like to introduce our second guest, Kaylin Berlinket. You can't go far in Thunder Bay in food and culture scene without bumping into Carrie. A graduate of the Travel and Tourism program at a very young Confederation college, she has used that education in tourism and culture in Thunder Bay. Carrie, thank you for coming on the show.
Thanks, Dennis.
So as I understand, you spent some time living across the country. What made you focus on the travel and tourism of Thunder Bay?
I lived all over the place until I was 18 years old and moved to Thunder Bay, and fell in love with it almost instantly. It wasn't instant, but it was almost instantly, and now I would never look back. I love Thunder Bay. It's definitely my home.
That is cool. I mean, Thunder Bay is a great place to live. I know you also organize a bunch of events at Thunder Bay. Can you tell me more about those events you do?
Sure. Events. Gosh, I started with events in 2010. Mm-hmm. I brought a tall ship to Thunder Bay called the Bounty, and 8,000 people saw that ship in Thunder Bay's harbor, and that was my moment that the sun came out and said, okay, this is what drives you and this is what gets your adrenaline going. So that was my first event, and it's just been continuous ever since. So I've done lots of different events, mostly focused around beer. There is some sort of a correlation there, and I love it. I love events. Events are so much fun, and Thunder Bay has so many amazing events, like we were talking about Brian's Busker Festival. Amazing. Every weekend, all the time, especially in the summer. It's fantastic how that's grown.
See, I'm glad you said something about the summer, because that was one thing I did realize. In the winter, we don't have many events going on. Do you think what's the reasoning behind that?
Well, it's cold.
I mean, I guess.
We're getting there, though, Dennis. Again, my eyes have really opened in the past 8 or 9 years as to how much there is and how Thunder Bay is just constantly growing. So we are getting more and more things. I mean,
in the winter,
a couple of weeks ago, the craft revival that happens downtown, that's so much fun.
It was.
Because it can be so cold, and yet you see all these people out, and they're shopping and moving and shaking and talking to your friends and spending your money and supporting local people. That is my favorite wintertime event. Love it.
That is fair. I'll also say the Parade of Lights is also really fun to go to.
Super fun.
Someone who has a 3-year-old nephew, I just went there, it was insanely cool. Just like seeing the excitement, all the kids' faces, seeing the parades of lights. It was really cool.
Yes, we do have endless things. All you have to do is pick up a copy of the Walleye.
Yeah.
And I always say to people, if they say to me, there's nothing to do in Thunder Bay, I quite literally find a walleye and I roll it up and I bonk them on the head with it, and then I hand them the walleye and say, you're welcome.
Yeah. Is there any events you think we're missing though in Thunder Bay, or any events you think we should add?
Nope.
No?
No, I think we're doing a really good job.
Yeah.
I'm fortunate enough to be a volunteer interviewer for Shaw Cable.
Yeah.
And so I get to go around and interview people
At
who
these
are
events.
having events.
Yeah.
And I'm overwhelmed at the things people are coming up with and things that are happening right here.
Mm-hmm. I will say, like, the events in general that I think I had the most fun with is like the annual like Culture Fest that we have in Thunder Bay.
Yes.
That one's really excited because you just experience a bunch of food, bunch of different cultures all at once.
Super fun.
That's-
Yep.
Yeah.
I agree.
So I know you've done a lot of promotion and marketing for setting like stuff like the Sleeping Giant Brew Factory. Mm-hmm. And I just want to pick your brain a little bit about like what was the overall goal, and did you guys like reach expectations, or was it just like, because I know it started as like a couple of friends just doing it, and now it's like a at least citywide brand known that people know is available.
Right. I'm not part of Sleeping Giant anymore,
Yeah, I know
but
that,
I'm
yeah.
super proud of the success that they've had.
Yeah.
That was just, like you said, 4 friends sitting around saying, you know what, I want to open a brewery. Okay. And there we went. So to see, and that was honestly probably 7 years ago,
Yeah.
to think that now, since that time, now there's 3 places in Thunder Bay that are brewing beer,
Yep.
plus another one that's about to open, plus we have Lake of the Woods in Kenora. So that's 5 local
Breweries,
places
yeah.
brewing in the past 7 years. That's phenomenal. That is such incredible growth. So again, that's what I see Thunder Bay doing. It's like they just get this spark, and then all of a sudden, the spark ignites, and it's this amazing flame. And that's what we're experiencing right now.
Yeah, I can really see that, like, in general, there's even restaurants in general just popping up out of the blue.
Mm-hmm.
Like the Ala just opened up recently. There's so much stuff involving.
Yes.
Is any like, I'll ask you the same question I asked Brian. Is there anything like food-wise that you think we're missing in Thunder Bay?
I really don't. I think we're covering all the bases. It's incredible when you see how much amazing food there is in our city. I used to, again, I'll say a decade ago, I used to say, oh, I really want to go to Duluth because I want to go to the Olive Garden, right? And now I haven't been to Duluth for years because I don't want to go. I want to eat right here because the best food that I've had in the past decade is right here in our city. So I don't want to go anywhere to eat anywhere else.
That's good. I mean, Olive Garden's good, I guess.
Yeah, it's okay. But when you can go to the Tomlin and have their tasting menu for about the same price,
Well,
I'll
plus
just stay
Duluth
home.
is a little bit farther than Thunder Bay.
Yeah.
I will say that. And in general, like, what restaurant do you think has gone above and beyond your expectations? Like a moment in a restaurant you thought, this is why I love Thunder Bay.
Well, there are so many amazing restaurants right downtown that I frequent. That's kind of my stomping grounds, and I love being able to go out and enjoy them all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So I wouldn't want to say one over the other because it wouldn't be fair.
No, it wouldn't.
But there are, I would say, 6 restaurants downtown that I go to constantly, and that each time they surprise me and impress me just that little bit more.
Yeah. Do you think it's just the local, like, hands-on feeling that you don't get at a restaurant, like a corporate that you like, or is it just in general the food is like a quality that is just like harder to say?
I really think the wonderful thing about Thunder Bay is that even though it is a large town geographically, it's a very small town in that everybody is 1 degree of separation, right?
Yeah.
So I know if you and I spoke
Yeah.
together, we would find out somebody that we know in common.
Probably.
So I think that's what I love about even going into the restaurants is not only is the food spectacular because so much of it is locally sourced, we really concentrate on that here, but it's also the fact that if I go into a restaurant and someone says, would you like your favorite beer? And I can say yes. And I know that they have somehow remembered that from a previous time. Like that kind of service you're not going to get anywhere else.
That is very true.
It's so neat.
Even like for experience, like I remember going to Montana's one time, it's just like they don't know anything about you. They just meal in, meal out. And then you go to any like local restaurants like, hey, welcome back. How you been? Blah, blah, blah. They want to know like what have you been up to. It's insanely like gratitude and just appreciation that you get from these local business.
For sure. And isn't welcome back the most wonderful words?
Do you ever
to
hear it? Yeah.
Yes. Like, wow, you remember me? I stood out for you,
I was
that
here
is
like
just so
2 months
wonderful.
ago. How do you remember me?
Yeah, exactly.
I just don't understand. I don't know if they just have like photographic memories on these places, or it's just like the experience that they remember is just like something you just treasure no matter what.
You made a good impression, that's why, Dennis.
Maybe, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't remember what I did. That's the one thing I will never say though. When I go to any restaurants, like any local ones, it's like, oh, you're back again. It's like, how do you remember me? What did I do?
Right.
Yeah.
Fun.
So like in general, I feel like the food is like very covered here in Thunder Bay. Is there anything like outside that you think, like an event wise, that you think you could combine the food, the beer, and everything all at once?
There are a couple of things. I mean, we have Bruja in the summer,
Yeah.
and I'm very, very proud of that event because that event rocks.
Yeah.
Because you're outside at our beautiful marina park. You're allowed to drink outside, which is a real treat. And we have such wonderful, again, local food vendors that
Yep.
come there. And we have it very specific in the rules that they're not allowed to use any plastics. There
Oh,
can't be any garbage. Like it
Okay.
has to be all recyclable.
Recyclable, okay.
So only paper, and it really is truly a fantastic event. And the people that come and do the food vending, they make sure that they really focus what they're making to fit with drinking beer. So it's not just 5 vendors selling hot dogs.
Yep.
So that I'm very, very proud of that food and drink pairing.
I know like New Year's is coming up. As someone like I know like you see on TV like New York, they have a big thing for New Year's. I feel like that's one thing Thunder Bay we're kind of missing is like a big community like New Year's thing.
I think they have something out at Old Fort William or Fort William Historical Park, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know for sure.
I don't-
But you're right. I remember
yeah.
back in the day, I used to buy a special dress and get my hair did and nails.
Well, even the
and-
marina, they have the fireworks for Canada Day, but they don't have them for like New Year's Eve, which I found was
Right.
very confusing.
Right. It really could potentially be because of the weather. It
Yeah,
might
it's
be
always-
30 below
yeah,
on
that's
New Year's
true.
Eve, and who's going to stand outside and watch fireworks?
You'd be surprised.
Yeah.
We are Canadians. We're actually really used to the cold, and recently it's actually been very like hot, surprisingly for winter time.
Yes. Our weather is getting warmer for sure.
I don't understand why, but I know it's like this every year though. I remember one year we had like no snow on Christmas.
Oh, that's no good. You need snow at Christmas.
Right? That's the one thing I was thinking. And then like when snow comes and like that's one thing I like with Christmas time for food wise, it's just like baking, you get the turkey, you get everything. And the nice thing for local business too, it's just so much money that's just available because people are just trying to buy whatever they can.
That's right. And so many people are busy now, Dennis, that I would far rather pay if I don't have the time to make something.
Yeah.
You know, so to pay someone locally to create things is great.
Well, especially I think it's the North Bakery got moved into the mall.
Yes, Sweet North. Yes.
Sweet North, yes.
Yeah.
I feel like that's such a cool thing to see.
Yes.
Especially since like the local and like I know that this time of year some people don't have time for baking, some people don't have time to make like a big cake for a party. It's
Right.
super cool to see like a local business get into like one of the malls that's mainly dominated by like a lot of like corporations.
That's exactly right. Yeah, it's fantastic. Definitely a sign of expansion.
Sign of expansion is kind of like the way I think Thunder Bay is moving. Mm-hmm. I think we're pushing towards the more local theme stuff, especially in the
yes.
bigger areas. And like I feel like we just the places itself, it's getting more attention than I think. Well, I've been here since I was 10 that I've ever seen.
Right. Yeah, people in Thunder Bay are fiercely loyal
Yeah.
customers, and they love their local things. And if you put the word local on something, that's the ticket because people love supporting their local business people here.
That is true. Do you think people are overusing it though? The
Nope.
word local? No?
Nope. I like to know. I like
Okay.
to know if something is locally sourced.
Yeah.
I want to know because I will choose it. If I can, I will definitely choose that local. And I think most people are like
Because I
that.
will say, like, even on the radio, like, just driving my car in the morning, you hear a lot about the local.
Right.
I feel like this should be something like that all the local people from the Bay should be able to call themselves, like Thunder Bay something.
Oh, that's a good idea.
I feel like that's just something that if we keep saying local, then the word eventually will just be like drawn out, and then people will just feel like, I don't know, people will just feel like the word itself has not enough meaning as it did before.
Right.
I don't know if there's like a certain like community thing that they could come together and agree like we should call us like a certain association that people all know. I feel like that's something that might be missing.
That's a great idea. There's a project for you. We'll expect an answer by Christmas.
You know, Christmas is a busy time of year. All right. Thank you for joining Culture Crunch. Culture Crunch. We'll be back to you in a quick 2-minute break. welcome back to Culture Crunch. I'm joined by Carrie and Brian again. So now we have both of you. I'm going to ask you a couple like quick questions. What's under the radar right now in the Thunder Bay's culture scene that people should watch out for?
Let me go for that one.
Yeah.
Go for
Okay,
it.
because when Carrie was talking about events, I
Yeah.
was thinking, and you're like, hey, what kind of events are we missing? And she's right. Robust scene in events. But one thing Thunder Bay does really, really good at, and
Yeah.
I think this could be a huge draw for tourism, drag shows.
Oh,
For real.
Yeah.
We do amazing drag shows. And I think that, Jimmy Wiggins and the crew all downtown, they do such a good job. They pack the house every single time.
Yeah.
We got amazing drag queens. It's a whole art and it's a big part of our culture. And I think I think we could bring people, I think it would be a huge boost for tourism. And I think it's an underserviced market as far as the outlying areas, Dryden, even south of the border. And I think we could really nail it on the drag scene. What do you think?
I think that sounds great, Brian.
Right?
Really, I wrote it down.
Wow.
Okay.
Look at you. Wow.
Anyway, that was my thing.
That's one thing you didn't. Yeah, I did see that. I also feel like we have a lot of sporting events, so I will say that. Like in general, we have the LU. We had like the under 18 like world championship here in Thunder Bay. So I feel like the sports scene might be a little bit much right now. This for events wise, I feel like these little like cultural things or like the drag fest is something that is just not talked about enough in Thunder Bay.
Totally, and we could honestly get the tourism to back it up and expand it. There's giant Canadian and American drag shows. We can bring in like a big act, you know.
Yeah.
You could bring it like it's like the Cirque du Soleil of drag, and I'd love to see something like that happen. I think it's an underserviced market, and I think people love it.
That's fair.
Hey, surprise you guys!
Yeah,
Now
right?
all
I'm just like,
I
well,
took
I'm
all the air out of the room.
I'm
Everyone loves
speechless. I'm
drag.
like,
See, I told you.
I'm just like, I didn't think that was the answer would be. That was really great. Because I know like even people like that are in my program or people I know of, they do drag and there's literally nothing for them. Like the market itself is very like small.
Right, and those people like work hard. Like
They do so
seriously-
much.
Yeah, they do so much behind the scenes, and I mean, it could be that's just what's on the mind today. Who knows tomorrow? But it's all about in the culture scene of finding kind of what people are doing very, very well that are excelling, and then give them a voice.
Well, even like trending wise, like some stuff that are trending. Like I know video games been trending for a while. Even like I know some people do like the cosplay. They dress up as a character. I know we had that event, something con in Thunder Bay.
Oh, the ThunderCon! Wow!
ThunderCon, yeah.
Oh my God!
Yeah.
That was unbelievable.
Yeah.
So yeah, like that stuff is like that's where things are going. But like yeah, Carrie was right. Like things are culturally, I think things are really, really happening in the city.
That is very true. I know like you both have been like involved in these festivals, and like, do you think any of the festivals in Thunder Bay could be combined for just a giant thing like across citywide? Because I think most of the time these festivals are always like either one side or the other, and not both.
Wow, interesting, Carrie? If I could ask that, I hate to, but actually DFC, Dennis Franklin Cromartie High School, right now their faculty and students are planning a Unity Festival.
Oh.
So that's good to be bringing in partners from all NAN and I think Matawa.
Okay.
And they're going to be want to do something down at like the marina or something.
Yeah.
So we've been talking, and there's a couple of us on city council that really want to get our hands in that, and we think that could be a really great draw. Not a powwow, but a real big learning event. And bring in other cultures as well,
that's
right?
really cool.
I know I was talking with the executives at Fort William First Nations, and they had the same kind of thing. Like, there's a lot of appetite right now for unity. So I think moving forward, anybody who kind of, there's a lot of room for programming, and people like Carrie. Carrie's like a professional organizer.
Yeah.
People like her, like Charlotte Brown, who's leaving soon, but people that do these, that basically organize and orchestrate these events, there's a big market and probably a job there for somebody.
Yeah, probably.
I have to say, Brian, I don't know what you think about Live on the Waterfront, but that's a city-funded event, a festival of sorts, every Wednesday throughout the summer. And I was fortunate enough to be a part of that this year. And with my heart, when I would be at the front of the stage and I would look back and see all the people, everybody, and it was so unifying, because using the word unity is so important in our community. When I would see that everybody was there, it didn't matter of your economic status, your race, your height, your weight, it didn't matter. If you see thousands of people standing all enjoying the same music on a beautiful night, sleeping giant in the background, sun coming down, we're warm, we're happy. That was such an incredible, something that our city funds. And again, free for everybody, that really gets me excited. I love that event.
Very well.
And we
attended.
need things like that where everybody can attend. And nothing matters, just being there makes my heart happy.
Right on.
I will say, like, those community like movie playing shows are always packed too, just full of everyone. That's one thing I took my nephew to a couple times. It's just you see different people from different backgrounds of everything just watching movies. It's something that's just like really cool to see happening in Thunder Bay.
Totally, yeah. I mean, we at City
Absolutely.
Council, we call that barrier-free programming, where anybody, you can walk off a bus and walk right down there. You don't need anything, It's like, but wear clothes, and wear something. But I mean, aside from that, anybody, welcome for everybody, and it's warm enough. You can just come as you are. So.
And what's nice too, I find about that, and again, just with Live on the Waterfront, is that there was never any trouble.
Yeah.
So you had thousands of people there, and there was no issues, there was no trouble. Everyone was wonderful to each other. So it just makes you, really think and say, hey, you know what? This is beautiful. And it was so great. I just loved it.
Good vibes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
getting the feels.
that's right, yeah. I was really hope one point in time we just have like a big event full of just everything everywhere. I feel like it would be cool to see people an event plan across the city. It's here is this, but then 2 hours later it's over here to see just a community of people going from places.
To get people kind of mobile.
Yeah,
and moving
mobile
around.
and more to explore the city. Oh,
Yeah.
Carrie?
You have to ask me about this because we have an event that we're doing, and it's going to be lots of community partners, but it's going to be called All Day Outside.
Oh.
And it's going to be on Summer Solstice Day. And we're going to encourage people to ride their bicycles.
Oh.
And
okay.
start at the Marina Park at 5:45 a.m. when the sun is supposed to come up, and just spend all day outside. So we're going to start it in the Current River. We're going to be riding at least 30 kilometers, but slowly and with breaks every hour, and stopping and eating and resting, but starting in Current River and just meandering our way all the way through the city. And I'm hoping for tons of people to come and
really
end
cool.
up back at the marina at the very end, but after having gone to see all these little pockets of our community that we never go to. If I live in Port Arthur, I don't go to the East End,
Or
I
the
don't go to
West
Northwood.
Yeah.
But we're going to go everywhere on our bikes. So I'm pumped about that.
That sounds really
And the one
cool.
thing about these events is you got to be willing to do it once and not to be too attached to the outcomes. Because when you go and you do it and you got your 5 people and you got your little tag-alongs, you can't be too attached to results, because doing it once is enough. You get a lot of data, you do it, you have lived experience, so that when you want to plan it again for the next year, you know a lot more about the event. So sometimes, it's not critical about the numbers. And I encourage people that are out there that want to do stuff, plan events, just do it, follow through, don't be, because I've thrown open mics, I've thrown events a lot that nobody shows up, and you kind of get discouraged. But at least you follow through the motions, and you get a lot of data, and that data is going to support you in your next year in organizing. So,
And to Brian's point, there is so much support for people who want to have events.
Yeah.
There is so much support. So if you do have an idea of an event, and you've got even just a small little gang that wants to do it with you, there just has to be a small gang. There's on a larger scale, there's grants.
Yeah.
But on a smaller scale, there's just people who will sit and talk to you and give you a list of what you need to do to make that event happen. It doesn't have to be 12 months in planning and thousands of dollars. No. It can just, our All Day Outside is just going to be people on their bikes.
I do have to say, while we're on the topic of events, our events are fueled by small businesses.
Yeah.
And people don't realize that about small business. So when small business asks or gives you some advice or something, when small businesses are doing good, we all do good, because Carrie and I and organizers like us, we go to those small businesses and we're like, here, we're going to create this kind of value for you. Can you please sponsor us for this money or sponsorship? And without those sponsorships, we would be completely dead in the water. We're not getting those sponsorships from Coca-Cola. We're not getting them from Fox News. We're not getting them from those big companies. We're getting them from small mom and pop shops that are all pitching in on $300, $400, $500, $7. God bless you, $7.
Yeah.
People. But that's who's fueling the thing. So all of these events are completely community driven,
Yes.
and that's important to remember. So shop local, because those businesses are putting it all back into the community. And when they do good, they don't spend it on another summer home. They're investing in the community and giving back to people like Carrie and myself to add value to their businesses. And our job is to give them value, but to see those events through to fruition. And that's a very, very important piece of everything that we do as far as events planning.
Yeah. I will also say, with some of like the younger demographic, I feel like I'm not as informed. Like some of these events I just miss. Is there anything you think that like I could do, or people in general could do, to get us more informed about these events going on?
That's a good point, because people are like, "Oh, I just missed it," or "I wish."
Yeah.
And that's always sad, because sometimes you have a very low turnout, and then you're like, people, so yeah, how to get the message out? I don't know. That's tough.
I think we do a great job, though. I mean, social media,
It's-
and I go
yes.
back to the Walleye, the Chronicle Journal. I mean, Shaw Cable. There's so many places where people put these events out. There's a City of Thunder Bay events calendar
Yeah, there
online.
is. People just got to look.
You
isn't
just
it, right?
have to look.
You just gotta look.
But
Yeah.
that said, I mean, Buskers, when we first did Buskers 6
Yeah.
years ago, it was like us, the Dragon Boat Festival, the Festival of India. We actually landed Buskers Festival on the best weekend of the summer. It's honestly, it's like almost never rains. Pride Fest, Blues Fest, a little bit rainy. You know,
Yeah.
and they got a little bit of more issues. Like in June, it's just a completely different weather patterns, right? So, now there's something on every weekend. So you do your event one year, even if it's a low turnout, you get some pictures, you get some media. Way easier to do it the next year. People already know about it. You got that little bit of a base of support, and it's way easier to execute on year two.
Absolutely.
Just like with Bruja, Bruja,
Yeah.
mind you,
Oh,
Bruja
yeah.
was successful
Yeah.
from the beginning.
Just about to
'cause
say.
guess what?
Beer.
Everyone loves beer.
Yeah.
Craft. There's people that, me, I don't even drink. I'm a dad.
Yeah.
I go to bed early. But I love a craft beer, and I love both of our local breweries. Just love them to pieces.
That's fair. I mean, in general, I feel like, I don't know how to say it. Like, I feel like the events are always like, no matter what, if you go to an event, you're always gonna have a fun time. I just feel like sometimes just like the events are not overshadowed, but like overminded by just other events going on. So sometimes they overlap a lot. I feel like
For sure.
I feel there's a way that we should have like events for just that day should be only the one thing, not 20 other things going on that same day.
Well, I mean, that's hard, right?
Yeah.
Everyone's got their fundraisers.
I know.
But this is the one good thing about Thunder Bay. I will say this. We're a big city.
Yeah.
Very diverse community.
Yep.
So if you want to do an event, my advice would be to almost just do something specific. Get that small little, you don't have to be the big blues fest or,
No.
but you'll always have your small little community that you can to attract, right? So
Absolutely.
there's lots of room for kind of everybody.
Even
but-
events I've never heard of, I meet people randomly. They tell me, "Oh, you should have went to this. It's so fun." I'm like, "Oh, I missed it. What?"
Yeah.
Like,
have you been to Buskers Festival?
yes, I
before?
have.
Yeah.
That was really fun.
That was really fun. So,
Yeah,
if
that was
people
really
miss
fun.
that, if you got kids,
Yeah.
it's like that's like the event of the year. And I think
Yeah.
now, but it's taken a long time to grow to that stature. And next year will be, and even with Carrie's events too, it's like they've grown, and we're kind of like, I hate to call us like old, but we're kind of getting grandfathered in there. We're kind of getting grandfathered in on those dates, and that's a big part of the success of our events. It's just kind of snowballs, right?
Well, even like just people like, I feel like if you get a couple people, they spread the word. Eventually you have like, a Blues Fest, a Buskers. It's like it gets so popular, it's so cool. I feel like just either more events are just people give up too easily, or events in general aren't happening as people don't know these events are happening as often as they think. So
If you ask me, and how we did Buskers Fest is every single person that we can tell about that event we cared about. We wanted every single person. Like I worked, like I ran to deliver posters. I just got the word out. Like I honestly, to get that stuff going, because your best advertiser is people that have come to the event, that are talking about it, word of mouth. And so when you create those value-added experiences and you create that organic buzz, that's what's going to bring people to your event. No amount of color posters,
Commercials,
or advertisements, or
yeah.
commercials on the radio, unless people have that lived experience, people aren't going to care, because there's lots of stuff to do. People could just go sit in the corner and play on Facebook all day, and they are entertained by that. So you really have to get something to kind of bring people out of the woodwork, and lived experience and friends dragging them is going to do that. So it's important when people are at these events, you give them the best absolute experience as possible. So it's important to kind of create that value and entertain people in a way that's going to bring them back year after year.
Yeah.
People just hope to catch your enthusiasm when they go to Buskers Fest. I think they're like, if I go to Buskers Fest, will I get his enthusiasm and
Yeah.
his craziness? Because you're fun.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
You're fun too.
Sometimes.
I also say that like the events I've even ever been to, it's been always just fun. People hanging out, people just like all animated, like just like Brian is right now.
Yes.
That's just like the event itself is always like really cool to see. Just the passion goes into it, and like sometimes it's for a good cause, sometimes just fun, sometimes just to try something new.
Totally. Well, it's important for our event. It's that the artists have a good time too.
Yeah.
And with our event, we're always trying to get the artists paid. So every year we're trying to figure out, hey, how can we get more money in the artist's pocket? Because they put out a lot. People are leaving. They could do anything on that Saturday, or that Sunday, and they choose to come and spend it with us, and that means a lot to us.
Yeah.
So we always want to make sure that our artists feel the value, and it's been hard to do. I'll be honest, because it's a buskers festival. People, some people they want to make a certain amount, and they don't. Now it's a little bit easier. We're getting more professional acts, and part of their act is getting the money is kind of like part of their act, right? So we're kind of getting those professional busking acts, and that makes a big difference too. But
Okay.
it's important that our artists are happy.
Yeah, actually, it's the end of our show. So,
What?
yeah, thank you, Carrie. Thank you, Brian, for joining me. And see you next time on Culture Crunch.
Right on.
Perfect.